But number one is the hardest one, and the one I might even get a little bit choked up on. So,
Mm.
as you guys know, I am from New York, and I grew up in New York, and I was in Manhattan on 9/11. So 9/11 hits home. My office was basically across the street from the World Trade Center, and I was in the city at the time of 9/11. And so 9/11 happened. Obviously, one of the most tragic things in our history. But what people who don't live in New York don't know is after 9/11 happened, our city completely shut down. So not only could we not go to work because the island was basically being quarantined, but we were all essentially quarantined ourselves. We were trapped in our house, watching news, watching for information, scared, future terrorist attacks were going to hit. It was a very hard time for New Yorkers, especially ones who worked in the city. The very first sporting event that came about after 9/11 was like 2 weeks later, 10 to 14 days after the attacks. And up until that time, none of us, most people in New York, hadn't done anything but watch news on 9/11. And so the Mets are playing a basic pennant race home game against the Braves, their division rival. And all the firefighters' families and the victims' families go to the game. The game's nationally televised, and they play the bagpipes, and you see the players just getting choked up because no one really necessarily wanted to be at the game, but everybody wanted to get back to some sort of normalcy. And so the game was very emotional, but it was also very somber. No, the crowd was quiet. It was like nobody was there. It was like watching a game like in the bubble in the NBA, right? And so like there was no real crowd noise. Everything was just the noise of the game itself was very high and loud. The Mets are losing, going into the bottom of the eighth, and they get a runner on, and up comes Mike Piazza, their best hitter, probably their only hitter really in that moment. And the Mets fans are, they're not really paying a lot of attention to the game, and so it's really silent. And then Mike Tyson swings the bat, and there's this loud, like super loud crack of the bat. And Mike Piazza hits an absolute bomb of a home run in the bottom of the eighth to take the lead. And the Shea Stadium crowd just erupts. Like everybody just erupts. Like all of the last 2 weeks of like being beaten up and hurting and quarantined and like holding in everything just was released in this moment of this Mike Piazza home run. And I was sitting alone in the dark in my living room, sad, beaten up, really upset over everything that's happened, trying to watch this game. And I stood up, not a Met fan in any way, and just started to cheer and jump and feel happy to the point where I cried. Like it was so impactful to me that like I was a grown man in my house by myself clapping for a team I don't like with tears literally running down my face. And I wasn't alone. Because if you watched it on TV, they showed the crowd, they showed the firefighters' families, people who were victims who were just lost. And they were all crying and laughing and hugging each other and high-fiving and breaking and families who lost their dads. And it was just so emotional. All of it just came pouring out for the whole city. So Mike Piazza's home run won them the game, but it also healed the nation. And being a part of that moment was the best sports moment I could ever imagine.
Wow. So
I don't know how you top that.
There's been a lot of good moments in this show. That one gave me chills. Wow, Sammy, that was really good.
Thanks.
Wow. I know we're out of time for us, but like for you, but so that's gonna be the greatest moment I can remember in AM Drive history. And it's been over a year.
That's a walk off for Sammy. That's a walk off for Sammy.
Well, I appreciate the topic, and I like top five. So I obviously put a lot of thought into these when you give them to me. So
I was not expecting that. You told me every good thing. I was like, man, what is he going to top? I was like, wow, that's good. So I appreciate it, Sammy.
And it's crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy for him to have a. Yeah, we need a 2-minute cry. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna cry, Sammy. So we'll see you when we see you. I'm gonna regather myself, and we'll give our top fives next.
All right, you guys have a great rest of your day. I'll see everybody.
Thanks again, Sammy.
All right, take care.